Page 344. Okay. So yesterday we're talking about the darkness. So a couple more points here with the couple more points with darkness. First of all, we had mentioned yesterday that the darkness is the darkness of Gehenna. It's the darkness that came from Gehenna, and we spoke about the idea that in Gehenna, why do the wicked go to darkness? Why do you sit in the darkness? The part of the idea is people who do wicked things think that nobody sees them. Symbolically, they're doing their mischief in the dark. Doing it in the dark, nobody sees. So mida kedeged mida, Kodesh Baruch Hu, whatever the punishment is always going to match the crime at some level. So the mida kedeged mida is that a musical accompaniment. By the way, while we do the Parsha Shiur, this is our music video. So the mida kedeged mida is that it's. It doesn't bother me. The mida kedeged mida is that they'll be in the dark. And this darkness, I told you, the darkness, again, darkness is something that even just go try it sometime. Just go sit in a dark room by yourself. It's very disconcerting. And that's what Gehenna is. That's one thing. There are also fires in the dark and so on and so forth. I had a guy here who told me now this guy was a Baal Tshuva, full-fledged Baal Tshuva. His parents completely detached from Yiddishkeit. They were remotely tolerant of his becoming religious. They had a good relationship, but they had zero connection to Yiddishkeit. So this guy, his parents, his father was a corrections officer on Rikers Island. He was a corrections officer. So his father said he works with the lowest people on earth, and then there are also the prisoners. So that's what his father said. So he was a corrections officer. And eventually his parents moved to Florida. And as soon as they got to Florida, there was a blackout in Florida for 3 days. I don't remember what year that was. There was a blackout in Florida, and his parents were there, and it was terrible. And on top of that, the mother-in-law was with them. His wife's mother, this guy's grandmother, the wife. So this guy is trapped in the dark for 3 days with his mother-in-law kvetching. And then eventually, after 3 days, the lights went on. So he called, and it was bad because there was no air conditioning, and there's no, what do you call it, they're trapped in the dark, a blackout in Florida. And eventually the lights went on. And when he called his son here in Israel, he said, the lights went on. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. That's enough. 3 days in the dark with your mother-in-law is enough to get anybody religious. Baruch Hashem. So that's that was the darkness of Mitzrayim. Number one. Number two, the Chassam Sofer says that there were not only was dark. There's a source that says that they were seeing all sorts of frightening visions in the dark. They couldn't see anything. But there were all these like frightening visions that they saw, something, whatever, like destructive angels. Plus, sounds were distorted. And so one of the commentators compares it to a microphone that the batteries start running out. And all of a sudden, like Jewish events. The microphone always has trouble at a Jewish event you're at. The micro takes a while to get that mic right, and so the sounds were frightening also. So it was a very very bad existence for them. And there's two other ideas. There was one idea here. So the Gemara says the darkness was the thick. There's actually one commentator is very creative. He says that it was actually, the Gemara says, the darkness was the thickness of a coin. It was ove kedinar. It was thick like a coin. Now, the plain meaning of that seems to be, what do you mean the darkness is thick like a coin? The immovability, I'm assuming that what the Gemara means is there was a coin is made out of metal. You run into metal, you can't move it. They were so immobile in the dark. It was like being like trying to hit metal. I'm assuming that's what the Gemara means. It was thick like the dark. We've said it was a thick darkness. We said yesterday. The Gemara said the darkness was thick. There were 3 days of darkness where they could move up and down. They could move, but they couldn't see. And there were 3 days. The last 3 days where they couldn't move. They were immobile. The Gemara said it was thick like a dinar. I think that one of the ideas here is that the Gemara is communicating the idea that there's nothing as blinding as money. Of all things to compare the darkness to, they compare it to a coin. because there's nothing in life that's as blinding as money. Suddenly, when the money's involved, all of a sudden, everything looks a little bit different when the money's involved. So and then one of the commentaries says, very creative. He says that thick like a dinar means that they all develop some sort of cataract or some sort of skin over their eyes. Different ideas that the commentaries are. But Rashi here needs an explanation. Take a look at Rashi. See if you'll have to ask me the question. It's the right column of Rashi on 344, 3 lines from the bottom. So Rashi says, Vayhi choshech afela. Everybody see that? If you find it, please show the person next to you. 3rd line from the bottom. Vayhi choshech afela shloshes yamim. Choshech shel ofel. It was a pitch dark. Shelo ro ish es achiv gimel yamim. They didn't see each other for 3 days. Ve'od shloshes yamim acherim. And then another 3 days. Choshech muchpal al zeh. There was an added darkness. It was the word muchpal, comes from the Hebrew word kefel, which means double. Shelo kamu ish mitachtav. It was double. They couldn't even stand up. Yoshev ein yochol lamod v'omed ein yochol leishev. If you were sitting, you couldn't stand. You stand, you couldn't sit. V'lama hevi aleim choshech. Why did Hashem bring darkness? Shehayu b'Yisrael b'osa ador rishoyim v'lo rotzim lotzes. There were wicked Jews who did not want to leave Egypt. And one of the reasons you wouldn't want to leave, why do you ever not want to leave? Be comfortable. Well, what was comfortable here? So remember, the commentary said, well, there's some rich Jews. How'd they get rich? Remember the plague of blood? They must have made a lot of money. And there were Jews who were close to the upper echelons of the Egyptians. Whatever it was, they didn't want to leave. Do you know, gentlemen, that they released the terrorists here from Israel, these terrorists that they released in the exchange? Do you know that one of the terrorists didn't want to go? You know, I want to stay in Israeli prison. I'm getting a degree. I have food. What do I want to go to Gaza for? What do I go to Egypt for? Right? You don't go if you're comfortable. Why would you want to leave? So there were Jews who didn't want to leave. Umesu b'shloshes yemei afela. They died during these 3 days of darkness. Kidei shelo yiru mitzrim b'mapalosam, so that the Egyptians shouldn't see the downfall of the Jews. So they died in the first 3 days of the darkness. V'yomer afim, look at the Egyptians will see it and they'll say, see, the Jews are getting clobbered just like us. Ve'od shechipsu Yisrael v'ro es keleim. In the second 3 days, they then went and searched the houses. Ukshiyatsu, then when they went out, they asked, let me have the stuff. And if the Egyptian would deny it, they say, no, we saw it. That's what Rashi says. So one of the Mefarshim asks over here, Rashi does something very strange. Why does Rashi even ask this question? Rashi starts, he says, V'lama hevi aleim choshech. Why did he bring darkness on the Egyptians? Why did he bring darkness? Why does Rashi didn't say this when it by blood. And why did Hashem bring blood? Why did Hashem bring frogs? Why did Hashem bring plagues? Why is Rashi all of a sudden asking, why did he bring this plague? Why is Rashi all of a sudden asking this question now? Why should Rashi ask this question now? We know that each one of the plagues was it was Mida Keneged Mida. The Gemara, the Mishforshim talk about why each one of the plagues came. They brought frogs because they made the Jewish people bring rodents, and the noise because they made women stifle their birth, and blood, and there are reasons that are given. Why does Rashi himself first ask it over here? Why is he asking, why did Hashem bring darkness? Or why don't you ask me, why did Hashem bring a grasshopper, what do they call it, locust? Why does Rashi ask it over here? So I saw there's 2 answers here. One of the answers is what Rashi is asking is, why is this different than why is this different than all the other makos? There's something distinctly different here, that it went in 2 stages. Stage 1 was just darkness. Stage 2, thick darkness where they couldn't move. Rashi is curious, why such a change? And to that, Rashi himself answers, because the first 3 days were so that the Jews could die. Now that you don't need thick darkness for, because they're going to die and the Jews are going to bury them. But then the Jews have to go traipsing around in the houses. Now you need that the residents of the houses are immobilized so you can go walk around their houses comfortably. and therefore you have these two stages. That's the first answer Rashi gives. The second answer, or that the commentaries give, the second answer is, what was the point of all of the makos? One of the points was that the Egyptians should suffer, and none of the Jews do, and the Egyptians are seeing that the Jews aren't suffering. That's one of the points. One of the ideas here is that while the Egyptians are having a hard time, they see that the Jews aren't, which is to drive home the idea of Hashem's precise running of the world, that it's not random and haphazard, that Hashem is involved to the nth degree. These people have frogs, and this right over here, these people don't. These people are getting eaten by wild animals or getting injured by wild animals. These people aren't. These people get lice, and these people don't. And so the whole point was the Egyptians themselves should recognize, hey, there's a God running the world here. I mean, this is unbelievable. Do you know that last night, yesterday, there was an accident in a place called Laos. You know where Laos is? Laos is a country just southwest of Vietnam. Do you know where Vietnam is? No, I don't either. Vietnam is a country that's just south of China. You know where China, okay, that we're more or less know. So Laos is one of the poorest countries in the world. There was a bus accident in Laos. Bus driver fell asleep. He got killed. 5 people got killed. 13 Israelis on the bus, and not one of them got killed. So they were injured. They weren't killed. 13 Israelis with 5 or 6 other people got killed. So I was thinking about that. That's really interesting. All of a sudden, there's this group, some of them are going to die. This group, nobody dies. Isn't that interesting? It doesn't happen all the time, but just interesting. You see, there is a certain amount of, they could have just easily died. What the heck are they doing in Laos is a good question. What do you have to be in Laos for? There are other places in the world to visit. I don't know what you're doing in Laos and in Vietnam. I could think of, I'd rather go somewhere where you could drink the water, as opposed to, or where they have buses and they have all 4 tires. That's certainly a better option. But at the end of the day, you see, it's just ironic. And if you don't see the hand of God, again, I'm not a prophet yet. And I'm not claiming Ruach HaKodesh, I'm not claiming that I have inside information here, but sometimes you just got to open our eyes a little bit. Hey, they were in an accident and 13 Jews didn't die, whereas other people did die. And 13 Jews who could have just as easily died didn't. So the whole point here is that the Egyptians should see the distinction. They should see the difference. So what good does it do to have a plague of darkness where they can't see? That's what Rashi is bothered by. Why is Rashi asking, why did Hashem bring this plague? This breaks the whole pattern over here. This breaks the pattern because the Egyptians are in the dark. They can't see what's happening to the Jewish people. Answers Rashi, that was exactly the point. Because Jews were dying. And Hashem does not want the Egyptians to see the Jews dying. Now, the number that's given in the Gemara, how many Jews died during the plague of darkness? 4/5 of the Jews died during the plague of darkness. Now, this creates logistical questions. If 4/5 died, if 2.5 million Jews left Egypt, okay, 600,000 males between the ages of 20 and 60. So if there were if 600,000, that's the number that's thrown. So how many were there that died? Guys. How many were there that died, math people? 20, that means that 600,000 is 20% of, come on, guys. We're not talking about calculus here. How about trying, what?
2.4 million.
2.4 million, there you go. There must be.
Men though? You said
let's go with minimums. If we estimate 2.5 million Jews left, that means 8 million Jews died. So, okay, let's go with lower numbers. Let's be optimists. 600,000 men between the ages of 20 and 60 left Egypt. That means that 2.4 million men between the ages of 20 and 60 died in 3 days and got buried. You try it. Burying a person takes a long time. One person, number one. Number two, if the whole point was the Egyptians shouldn't notice it, I mean, what happens after a week when you walk around? Hey, there's room to park in the supermarket. I got tickets. I finally was able to get tickets to the ball game. Wow. And there's no line. There's no line at the restaurant. Things seem like there's more. There seems to be more room to move around. And at the sushi restaurant, I can finally get in because the Jews aren't there. So the what do you call it? Like every Jew, they say in every Jewish community have certainty. You have a shul, and a mikveh, and a school, and a Chinese restaurant. That's how you know you're in a Jewish neighborhood. I don't know if the Chinese have like a Bubby Bernstein's bagels. I don't think I don't know if they have that. We have the Jewish restaurant, roast chicken and potatoes. Ooh, wow, that's really creative. To eat it with chopsticks. What happened? So it could be that the Egyptians, when they see those Jews, they figured, look, the Jews probably left. We were immobilized. There's nothing we could do. There's absolutely nothing we could do to stop them. So if and miraculously they were buried. Doesn't say, the commentaries don't talk about how it happened. It just says they died and they were buried. Could be Hashem buried them. I don't know. Whatever the case is, that's what the question Rashi is addressing. He's addressing that what was the point of this plague? It breaks the pattern. It breaks the pattern of being able to see what's happening to the Jews. Answers Rashi. That's exactly the point. Okay, let's go on.
Maybe the first half, but the second half when it got even darker, then I don't think it covers it.
That's so that the Jews could go looking around at all the door without any resistance. And now you're resistant to the dark, but whatever it is, it makes it easier. You don't have to step on anybody.
Looking through their belongings, just to make them paranoid.
What's that?
The point of the Jews going through and looking through the Egyptian belongings. Was that just to make the
We'll see. It was so that the Jews. We're going to see that this allows you. When they left, they say, okay, I'll take that bracelet. When they deny it, then they're able to buy it. So the question is, why don't they just take it right now? The answer is, we're not going to take advantage. We're going to see in a second. We're going to see what's it contained in not taking advantage of it. Remember, they could have beaten them up also. They could have also, the Jews could see them. He could have just gone over and said, practice your punji as a punching bag. Could have done a lot of possibilities over there. Hey, look at my new nunchucks. Doink, doink. Hey, it makes a sound. Ahmad al-Walid, how's that feel, boys? Ching, ching. Possibilities are limitless. But they didn't. We'll see. Okay, let's go on. Take a look at pasuk. Okay, pick it up in pasuk Chav Dalet. Lo ro ish esachiv lo kam ish vitachtav shloshes yamim. 5 lines on the top. Ulechol bnei Yisrael haya or b'Moshe. The Jews had light. Vayikra Paro el Moshe. Paro summons Moshe. And there's a question: how does Paro manage to call Moshe? That miraculously, he's able to yell and Moshe hears him because Paro can't move either. Vayomer lechu ivdu es Hashem. Go serve God. Rak tzonchem uvikarchem yutzag. Just leave your cattle behind. Now Paro has upgraded it. That means last time he said, don't take your kids with you. Now he's saying, just leave your cattle behind. Gam tapchem yelechimachem. Your children could go with you also. So this is already an upgrade from last time. Because last time he objected to the kids going. But leave your cattle here. Obviously, Paro wants some sort of deposit, so I know that you're going to come back. Vayomer Moshe gamata titain b'yadeinu zvachim v'los. No, not only we're going, you're going to give us offerings also. V'asinu l'Hashem Elokeinu. Now pay attention carefully. Pasuk 26. 7 lines to the bottom. V'gam miknenu, a very important point here. V'gam miknenu yelech imanu. Our cattle's going to go with us. Not like you said, Paro. Lo sishar parsa. Not one hoof is going to remain in Egypt. Ki mimenu nikach la'avodas Hashem Elokeinu. We're going to take from the cattle. We don't know how much we need to sacrifice. We need all the cattle. I don't know what God's going to tell us. We're going to bring sacrifices. And we're going to need to serve God. V'anachnu lo neida ma na'avodas Hashem ad boinu shama. We will not know how to serve God till we get there. So we need a lot of the cattle. Because, I don't know, I have no idea what we're, maybe God's going to order us to give 10%, 20%. We're taking it all, number one. Number two, you see that what's Moshe Rabbeinu concerned about? We're going somewhere, we got to serve. One of the unique features of Jewish travel, what's the first thing you pack when you go traveling? What's the first thing you pack, gentlemen? Tefillin. First thing is you pack your tefillin. Because there's always a davening lurking. You're going to daven. You may daven on the plane. You may daven on you may daven on, in the airport. You're going to be davening. One way or another, you're going to be davening. And by the way, you never, ever, 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 ever put your tefillin in your main bag. You always keep your tefillin in your carry-on. You never put tefillin in the main suitcase. You always keep it with you. Never, ever, ever, ever. because who knows what they're going to do with the tefillin. B, you keep your tefillin with you because you may need the tefillin. You don't want it to get lost. And the tefillin, so the first thing a Jew packs is his tefillin. Then what's the second thing you pack? Well, if you're married or you're a Sephardi, you pack your talis. And what's the third thing? Got to have a sitter. What's the fourth thing? You need a chumash. You're going to learn something. What are you going on the plane? What's the fifth thing? If it's sukkahs, you take your lulav and esrog. If it's Pesach, you got to bring hand matzahs with you. And a wife brings her shaitel. Got to have her hair covered. Right? By the time you're packed, you haven't got room for your socks. Yeah. And, Jews go traveling. Our whole travel is serving God. So, I've seen other people get on a plane with a credit card. That's all. You gotta, you buy the food, by the way, there's food. You got to take your food with you. What if they don't have your kosher meal? And even if they have your kosher meal, we're Jews, we're going to be eating more. Well, that kosher meal's not going to get me through college. They bring around this little winky thing, 3 bites and you're done. Hey, listen, come to my house for Shabbos. That's not even the appetizer, buddy. Before Jewish travel is an adventure, and when you travel with kids, it's even more fun. Travel with children, right? The key to insanity. I haven't done it in about 30 years. You travel with kids, it's unbelievable. And remember, you got to pack for each kid. Oh, by the way, your tzitzis. Don't forget your tzitzis. And your yarmulke and your hat. You got to have a hat. So you understand. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, hey, we're taking cattle. We don't know how we're going to serve Hashem. That's the basic idea. Now, there's a much deeper idea here. Read this pasuk again with me, gentlemen. It says, let me ask you a question. Did it ever happen to you? You went to the Kaisel, to daven. You finally went to the Kaisel. And it could be that you have a reason to daven. Maybe a relative needs a cure, needs healing, or you have an issue in your life, and you really, you decided to go to the Kaisel. You're going to daven, and you start davening, and the next thing you know, you hear the jingle. Now you're davening, and next thing, something like that, and you're just like, and all of a sudden you're flustered and a panic, and you got the jingle. Right? Or you're walking through Mea Sharim. Did it ever happen to you on Geula? That's what I call the Geula tax. Right? You got the jingle. And you're actually going there to daven. And now this guy's, he's jingling, and you're getting annoyed. And eventually, you give him a call, you give whatever it is, or you get upset. And the guy happens to be, he smells suspiciously like vodka, but that's a different issue. But he's doing the jingle. And you, okay. And finally you daven, and then you go home. Now, why did you go to the Kaisel that day? What was your purpose of going to Kaisel? How do you know? Maybe your purpose of going to the Kaisel was actually Hashem brought you there. He wanted you there in order to give this guy money. How do you know what your real purpose was? What was your real purpose of going? Sometimes, you go to shul, and you finally make it to shul, and on your way to shul, you give a little old man a ride. What was your purpose of going to shul that day? Well, to daven, to get an aliyah, to say kaddish. Maybe your whole purpose of shul was in order to give this guy a ride. And maybe your whole purpose of going to shul was so when the guy behind you davening too loud and is really annoying you, and instead of snapping at him, you just worked on yourself and you say, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. Maybe your whole purpose of going to shul was to work on your character traits. Maybe that was your real purpose of being in shul that day. Moshe Rabbeinu says to Pharaoh, look at the pasuk. V'anachnu lo neida ma na'avodas Hashem. We don't know how we're going to serve Hashem ad bo'enu shama, until we come there. So one of the Mefarshim says, we think down here we know how we were serving Hashem. I've done some big things. I did some little things. And I think that the big thing was significant. I went to the Kaisel to daven. And while I was at it, I tossed this guy a couple of shekels. Ad bo'enu shama. When we come up there after Mea V'Esrim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, wrong. This was your real service. That's what I really wanted from you. I wanted you to give this guy tzedakah. Your davening is good also. We don't know what our real purpose is. We only know we got to do it all. And sometimes we do things that are relatively simple, and we think it's insignificant. And what we don't realize is that was really what we were meant to be doing. So you got up in the morning and you went to shul and you came home. And when you came home from shul and you're hungry and the guy in the back in shul behind you nailed you in the back of the neck with a shtender or poked you with a lulav, and you came home and you managed to get yourself calm and smile at your wife when you came into the house, maybe that was the whole purpose of the test. We don't know how HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to serve. We don't know what our task is. You came to Yeshiva to study Torah, but maybe in Yeshiva what you're here is one day you went up to your roommate and brought him a meal because he wasn't feeling well, or you brought him Yeshiva food because you didn't want him to feel well. That's a different thing, but you brought him a meal because he wasn't feeling well, and maybe that's the real mitzvah that Hashem wanted you to go. He brought you to Yeshiva to see how you relate to other people, not to see how hard you shuckle in Shemona Esrei and nail people with shtenders. Even though there is a little bit of job satisfaction there, when the guy, but at the end of the day, we don't know. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying to Pharaoh. We don't know what our real service is. We only know we got to do it all. We got to do it all. We don't know how the grading system works. But Moshe Rabbeinu says to Pharaoh, therefore you're going to give us what do you call it? So Pharaoh's had enough. Vayomer lo Pharaoh, lech me'alai, out. 3 lines from the bottom. He shomer lecha al tosef ra'os panai. Don't come back anymore. Ki biyom roscha panai tamus. The day you come back, the day you see my face, you're going to die. The question is, why did Pharaoh wait till now? Why did he wait so long to make this threat? He says, get out. I don't want to see you again. This is after the 9th plague. I mean, I would have done it a little sooner, no? So I heard from Rav Perlman. Rav Perlman was just Nifter, who was the sign Rav Perlman used to give the Parsha Shiur. So he said, I don't know what his source, he said, Pharaoh thought all along Moshe Rabbeinu was a sorcerer. And he figured it's worth going through the pain to learn the sorcery. That he thinks he'll be able to learn how to do sorcery like Moshe. If you can be a sorcerer, it's a good thing. The better the sorcerer, the more powerful you are. At this point, he's had enough. This is the break point. He says, out, if I see you again, I'm going to kill you. Next day, the accurate is, don't you see my face anymore. On the day you see my face, you're going to die. Vayomer Moshe, Kain Dibarta. That's what you say. That's what you say. Lo osif oros bacha. I'm not going to go. Yeah, you're right. I'm not going to come back to see you. Implication? But you're going to come to see me. I'll get to you 1 second, Lenny. You're going to come to see me. When's that going to happen? On the plague, on the firstborn. When the firstborn are dying, then what happens? Then Pharaoh goes running around looking for Moshe Rabbeinu. Pharaoh simply said, don't you come to me. And Moshe says, oh, I won't. No, I won't. Sam, right? I ain't coming to you. It's not going to be me saying, it's like whoever loses has to say the other guy's the better man. Yeah, whoever loses. And here I am, boys. I'm going out on a limb, right? He's going to be, I ain't coming to him. He's coming to me. That's what's going to be happening. 2 weeks. Mark the date. So the wedding, oh boy, I'm a bad guy to lose to. I'm telling you right now. You don't want to ever lose to me. So Sam, you got 2 weeks to pack your bags. So Pharaoh says to Moshe, Moshe Rabbeinu says, you're right. Oh, I'm not going to be coming to see you. Implication, you're going to be coming to see me, which is what happens on the plague of the firstborn when Pharaoh's running around. And there's even a kid's song that Rabbi Alter Zichrono Livracha made about Pharaoh searching for Moshe Rabbeinu on the night. Where does Pharaoh live? You know this song? Pharaoh in pajamas. Say, come on, yes, with it together. Pharaoh in pajamas ve'emtza halayla. Pharaoh in pajamas ve'emtza. That Pharaoh's running. He made a kid's song that Pharaoh's running around in pajamas looking for Moshe Rabbeinu at midnight because he wants to get the Jews out. But Moshe is not coming back to Pharaoh. That's what he said, number 1. Number 2, I'll get to you 1 second, Letty. Vayomer Moshe Kain Dibarta. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying to Pharaoh, yeah, you said this before. Kain Dibarta. Yeah, you've said this in the past also. When did he say it? Years ago when you tried to execute me. Remember? You tried to execute me? Pharaoh, when Moshe Rabbeinu, they brought him. And you tried then. Okay, Moshe Rabbeinu say, Kain Dibarta. Yeah, you said it before. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. You tried this before. It didn't work. I'm not afraid now. This is Moshe Rabbeinu who's mocking Pharaoh. At this point, he's mocking him. Okay, so Lenny, what were you going to ask?
You brought the commentary from the other rabbi about finally, Pharaoh says, you said it was about the darkness, right?
Right.
He says finally he realized like that it's not worth learning the sorcery, but I thought that I don't know if it was, I can't remember if it was the beasts or one of the previous ones that even his sorcerers finally say like this isn't sorcery, it's proof of Hashem's.
It's a question. It's a good question. He's just saying an idea. He's offering an idea. It could be it's there. It could be there. It's in the Chumash often there's one idea that the ideas don't reconcile with other ideas. It's not like learning Gemara. In Gemara, if there's a contradiction, it has to be reconciled. Here you have different approaches. That's what he said. But it's a good question. That's the answer that he gave. I don't know, if who I don't have a source for it. That's the answer that he gave. That maybe he wants a source. It is. You're right, though. That is a problem because earlier they did acknowledge that it's Hashem. But it could be he changed his mind. It could be he didn't really mean it. Whatever the case. Okay, take a look at the next pasuk. Yud Aleph Aleph, and again another life lesson. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Od nega echad avi al Paro. I am going to bring one more plague. Ve'al Mitzrayim. Ve'acharechein yishalach eschem mizeh. He's going to send you out. Kishalcho kolo goresh eschem mizeh. He's going to totally send you out. Now the first question here is, why is the plague, this particular plague, called a nega? And the answer to that is that later on we find when a person has leprosy, what does the Torah refer to leprosy? Nega tsaras. Tsaras is called a nega. It's a plague, an affliction, the affliction of tsaras. Now, when a person is afflicted with leprosy, what happens to him? He's got the same, what's that?
He gets sent away. No?
He gets sent out of the camp. And not only that, he has to rend his garments. He's let his hair grow. He's got the same status as a mourner. What's going to happen in the plague of the firstborn? They're all going to turn into mourners. All the Egyptians are going to be mourners because there's going to be, the Torah is going to say later, there is in a house that somebody doesn't die in. And in many houses, more than one person. And therefore, it's called a nega because they are going to be mourners. Just like the guy who has tsaras is called a mourner, number one. Number two, what does the word nogea mean? To touch. Why is the plague of tsaras especially, in here, the plague of firstborn, why is it called a nega? Why is it called, what's it got to do with touching?
See, for leprosy.
Why? What's it got to do with touching?
You don't want to touch him.
You don't want to touch him, so it should say lo nega. This is called nega, he's been touched. The answer is a touch, when you touch something, it's a very specific point. I'm touching this. It's like with you and your brother, don't touch me. When you and your brother don't touch me, and you put your finger right there. Don't touch me, I'm not touching you. You did that, didn't you? Or you were on the, don't touch me. I'm telling you, if you touch me, that always terminated in a punch, right? That always led to a fight, right, Shia? There you go. No, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about, right? There's like, and I'm not touching you. You better, right? What is the touch? The touch is a very specific point. That means a guy spoke. Remember, what activates leprosy? What brings about leprosy? One of the things is speaking lashon hara. I mean, that's pretty impressive, heavenly, divine involvement. You spoke lashon hara. You didn't even do anything physical, and all of a sudden God's punishing you. That means God's touching you. That's a demonstration, a very clear demonstration of God's direct intervention in man's affairs. That's why it's called a touch. The leprosy, this individual spoke, this individual got touched. Very, very direct contact. It's very specific. It's a clear indication Hashem is involved. The plagues, what was the whole point here? The whole point was to show specific, clear Hashem intervention. They get it, they don't get it. These people suffer, these people don't suffer. There are wild animals, they get eaten, they don't get. The whole point here is to show Hashem is touching. The whole thing is a nega. Hashem is touching. So the whole thing is called od nega echad, one more touch. Because the whole point here is like a human touch, to show that it's very, very, it's not random and haphazard. Number one. Number two, Pharaoh had a choice. You could have sent them earlier. You're going to send them under duress. So the Mefarshim say over here that often in life Hashem wants us to do something. There's a stage where we could do it by choice. You don't do it by choice, so then you'll be doing it almost by force and under duress. For example, Guy's got a lot of money. What should you do with your money? You should use your money for tzedakah. Use your money for good things. Turn back for a second. To Pasuk Chavav. I think it's Pasuk Chavav. 1 second. Oh, yeah. And Pasuk Chavav, that same Pasuk where we said we don't know how to serve Hashem, right? Take a look at Pasuk Chavav. 7 lines of the bottom. V'gam miknenu yelech imanu, our cattle will go with. Everybody see that? On page 344. Lo si shoyer parsa, ki mimenu nikach lavodas Hashem. From our cattle we will take to serve Hashem. The word mimenu, if you rearrange the letters, mimenu, just rearrange the letters and you get mamon. You get money. The Torah is telling you, ki mamon nikach lavodas Hashem. We should use our money to serve Hashem. Use your money to serve Hashem. Money's not there. Money, okay, a little bit we have to take care of ourselves, obviously, but it's not there just to go on vacations and spend and waste and upgrade and try to show off. Money is there to use to serve them. Give tzedakah, buy better tefillah, give to yeshiva. All the things that you could do with it. Comes along Hashem. Hashem gives a person a lot of money. What should you do with your money? You should be giving tzedakah. You're hesitant. You don't want to give tzedakah. I don't know, but that. And all of a sudden, the same person, a relative of his, a close relative, doesn't feel well. They go to the doctor. Says, "Oy, I'm giving tzedakah that the report should be good." And then the report isn't so good. Now he gives more tzedakah, so that in the merit. So the same tzedakah that you were going to give, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you didn't want to give it under the good circumstances. I'll create circumstances you're going to. One way or another, I want you to give the tzedakah. One way or another, you're going to do it. You didn't want to do it under pleasant circumstances. I'll create unpleasant circumstances for you. Person asks you for a favor. You don't want him to do the favor unpleasant. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates circumstances while you do it. One way or another, you're going to do it. It says, Pharaoh, if he's going to send you out. He could have sent you out under pleasant circumstances. So I'll create unpleasant circumstances. Then Pharaoh's going to send you out. He's going to send you out and what do you call it? He's going to chase you out of here. He wants you out of here. One more point. Hashem says, Moshe Rabbeinu, I got one favor to ask you. 3 lines from the top, 346. Daber na be'oznei ha'am. Please speak to the people. According to some, that na sometimes means now. But here, please speak to the Jewish people. V'ishalu ish me'esra eyu v'isha me'esra usa klei chesef v'klei zav. I want them to ask from their fellow Egyptians silver and gold, because they're going to be getting all these silver and gold. Do me a favor, ask the Jewish people. Convince them to ask for free silver and gold. Gentlemen, you don't hear a problem there? We're talking about Jews. It's free. You ever been at a kiddush? You been at a kiddush? The food is free. Free money. I once saw a sign, a guy wrote a sign. He made an announcement like on the bulletin board. He wrote, free money. Right under it said, ha, I knew that would get you to look. Anybody who found my jacket, it says free money, you look. Easy money, you look, even though there's no such thing as easy money. There's easy ways to lose money. There is no easy money, legally. What are you laughing at, Shia? What, because I have a counterfeiting operation, so you're laughing? And that's pretty easy. I knew a guy, by the way, was a counterfeiter. They caught him. They caught a guy who used to play ball with him, a Jewish guy. Unfortunately, he was running counterfeiting. He got caught. 25 years in the clink. Counterfeiting is the worst crime. 25 years, no parole. Because counterfeiting is considered you're the biggest threat to the society. Because a guy is a murderer, kills 1 or 2 people. Okay, so it's certainly an inconvenience for those people. But the counterfeiter could ruin the economy. When the economy is ruined, you destroy the whole country. The counterfeiter is considered the most dangerous criminal. And if you counterfeit, if one country counterfeits another country's currency, I mean, you don't think the Americans the Russians can't counterfeit American money? Can't print American money? Why not? What's the difficult for them to get a hold of $1 and put in a thing to counter for one country to counterfeit another to print another country's money is considered the international declaration of war. It doesn't mean they don't do it. And I'm sure the Russians have a few bucks here and there that they print up. But if it becomes gets out of hand, it's considered a declaration of war. That's how powerful it is. So there's no such thing as easy money. Why does Moshe Rabbeinu have to convince the Jewish people to ask for freebies? Could you imagine? I buy a refrigerator. It's a true story. I bought a new freezer. Cost about 3,000 shekels, something like that, a few years ago. Cost about 3,000 shekels, whatever, 2,000. But it came with a free pen. My wife was so excited about the pen. That was wow, a pen? Oh, wow, yeah, a pen. I'm going to the pen for having stolen 3,000 shekels to buy at a freezer, yeah. A free pen, how do you like that? A free pen. Yeah, so why does Moshe, we'll leave it with that. Why does Moshe need to convince the Jewish people to ask for freebies? All right, we'll continue with that tomorrow, Mitzvah.